Shalom, welcome to Rob on the Rock. I'm Rob Van Hoff, and today we're going to look at the Torah portion called Noach. It begins in Genesis 6, and we're going to look at a fragment from Cave 6 in Qumran of a very ancient copy of this passage from Genesis 6. It only extends from verse 13 to verse 21, as you see here. And you probably already noticed that it's in what we call a Paleo-Hebrew script. It's not in what we call the block Hebrew or Aramaic script. It's dated to the early Hellenistic era. So that means that this fragment could be older than the original Hanukkah. So that is before the Maccabean revolt. This could be that old. Sadly, we only have this fragment here from Genesis 6. We do not have, we don't know if this was an entire roll of Genesis or if it was just a section of Genesis. It's only this that we have surviving, Genesis 6, 13 through 21, in this particular manuscript. But in all of Qumran, also, this is the only section of Genesis 6 that survives. We don't have any other, to my knowledge, preserved passages in this script or in later Hebrew script of Genesis 6 at all. This is it. We do, of course, have fragments of Genesis more broadly, but Genesis 6 is unique here. So we're going to look at the passage here and just look at the letter formation. How do we know this is Genesis 6? And we're going to compare it with the English translation that I have below here. So we'll go through this. I'll zoom in a little bit. And the places that I have in bold are the places that are preserved in the manuscript here, or the fragment that we have. God said to Noah, "The end of all flesh has come before me. For the earth," it says, "is filled with violence because of them." And it's ki mal'ah haaretz chamas. The earth is filled with chamas, violence, mipnehem. And I'm going to go up now and we'll look at that very top line here. It's not the best photograph, but what we see here is a nun. I'm going to trace over it with green and then I'll erase it. That's a nun, yod, hey, and then a mem. And what the word is in block script is the mem, which is missing, a pei, which is missing, but then mipnehem, because of them. And what's preserved here is just the nehem. So what we would have seen, presumably, is something like a mem over here, and then a pei, which I'm not sure how they made it, probably something like that. Mipnehem. So there's our first word that we see. Now we're going to go back to our Genesis passage and continue. Let's get it square for you to see. "Behold, I am about to destroy them with the earth. Make for yourself an ark of gopher wood. You shall make the ark with rooms. Cover it inside and out with pitch. Kafarta ota," it says, and you will cover her, because the ark is a feminine noun, teva, so you will cover it or her. Mibayet umitachat bakofer, it says, mibayet umitachat. So let me hope this doesn't make anybody dizzy here, me going back and forth. But what we see here is the end of mibayet. It's the word house, but mibayet means within, and mechutz, and without. So what we see here, though, is part of a yod and a tav. So we would have seen a bet and a mem, mibayet. So in our standard writing, that would be mem, bet, yod, tav, like this. Mibayet, from within, because bayet can just mean inside. And then here's our vav. another mem, mechutz. Now we don't have the tzadi here, so I don't know exactly what this tzadi would have looked like, so I'm not going to guess on that. But we do have the vav, u, mechutz, u, mechutz, and from without. So within and without. There's our, oops, meant to erase that. So now you can see how we're tracking that we do indeed know that this is a passage of a writing of Genesis 6. Again, hopefully this is not making you dizzy. This is how you will make it. The length of the ark, 300 cubits, its breadth 50, its height 30 cubits. Its height 30 cubits. And to zoom back up here, this one is pretty fragmentary, as you see. Shloshim amma komata. We see here the end of a mem, so that's presumably shloshim, 30, and then there's presumably an aleph here, which we can't see, and then another mem, and then a hey, amma, and then we have a part of a kuf here, komata, her height is 30 cubits. So again, though, you can see how fragmentary that section is, but it does fit. Next, we can see a little bit here, the end of a mem, and then another vav, a shin, and we'll go over all these letter formations. Here's our first lamed that we see, and then another shin. And this is referring to its decks. It says with the second and third decks. So as you see, the bold is where we have the preserved part of the fragment. Behold, even I am bringing a flood of water upon the earth to destroy all the flesh, which is the breath of life, from under heaven. So it's kol basar asher bo, so all flesh, in which ruach chaim mitachat hashamayim. The breath of life is ruach chaim mitachat shamayim. So the ruach chaim is the breath of life or spirit of life. We don't see the word ruach here, but we see achet. I'm going to zoom in here a little bit more if I can. Here's achet. It's not a very good looking chet, but let me try again there. Chet, and then two yods, yod, and then a mem. So we can see the yod, mem ending, and we can see most of the chet. So we know before that was the word ruach chaim. And then mem, tav, another chet, and then another tav. I realize I made my other het backwards. I'm going to fix it right now. It actually is like the one I just wrote. It's like that. Here. Mitachat hashamayim, from under the kol basar asher bo ruach chaim mitachat hashamayim. All flesh in which is the spirit of life, or chaim, mitachat, from under heaven. And then we're going to go down. Well, maybe I'll just do this. I'll stick with this here. We can see a hey here and a dot. That's another feature we see here, is dots between the words. I didn't point that out. Here's a vav, bet, nun, yod, kaf. Here's a kaf. And I'll go over these. And then we see what is probably another vav here, but it's not visible. Aleph, shin, tav. So this is presumably you, the word atah. So this would be something like an aleph and a tav. You and your sons, bnecha, and your wife. Okay, so I'm going to go down and we'll see where that is. You and your sons and your wife, etc. Keep them alive with you. We just have that on a little bit of a line, 2 of every kind, and for you and for them. So we don't need to go over all these, but basically that's what we see here. Now, just to point out a couple more kafs we see nice and clear. Here's an aleph, right? This is with you. Aleph, tav, kaf. Now this manuscript has a hey here, which is not in the Hebrew Masoretic tradition. The Masoretic tradition just has itach, aleph, tav, kaf, like that. Here they have an aleph, tav, kaf with a hey. So that's one difference in terms of the consonantal text between this manuscript and the Masoretic text. Here we go. We've yod, hey, mem. Here's another nun and another kaf. This is nice to be able to, an alamid here you can see. But look, for example, just the difference between, I'm going to change colors to maybe purple to show the difference between the kaf and the nun. So the nun goes like, goes like that, and then back up. The kaf goes like this. So you can see there's just a slight difference in those letters. And then we see a lamed here, of course, and a lamed here. So what I want to do now that we've shown that pretty clearly this is indeed a section from the passage of Genesis 6. Now again, we don't know if this was a complete scroll of the book of Genesis. Sadly, we just don't have the information. But I want to go through the Hebrew alphabet now, and I've done this before, but it's fun to do, and just see what the letter formation is for the Paleo-Hebrew. So I'm going to go to a nice color here. Okay, so first I want to look for aleph, right? Aleph is our first letter, so I'll start over here. So an aleph. Well, we saw a nice aleph right here. And I think we also saw there was another aleph, but it was a little bit harder to see right here. So those are 2 alephs. And the basic formation, as you can see, is a not so vertical line, kind of goes down to the right, and then a line like that, and then like that. Kind of looks like an F. Now, of course, my nib doesn't have the nice broad downstroke and side stroke. So obviously this the nib of his writing utensil was long and flat, which I can't reproduce here. But here we go. So it's going to be like this. There's the aleph. All right, now we want to look for a bet. Well, we had a bet in one word that we could see very clearly, your sons and your sons. Here it is right there. So you can see the bet kind of is a loop like that, down and to the left, and then a little, and then a little hook off like that. There's our bet. So come back up to the top, and so our aleph and our bet looks something like this. Okay, Gimel, we don't have. Dalet, we don't have. Aleph, Bet, Gimel, Dalet. What's next? Hey. Well, we have a bunch of hays, don't we? Here's one there. Where's another hay? Right there. Right there. Here. 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 So you can just see, you get used to these letter hays, and it's pretty easy to make, right? It's just like this. 1, 2, 3. It's like a flag in a way. So there's our hay. How about a vav? Well, we do have a vav. We have a Vav. Here's one right here that's fairly clear. Here's one right here that's fairly clear. And it's an interesting guy. It almost looks like this with a slash through it. So there's our Vav. So what's next? We have Aleph, Bet. We don't have Gimel or Dalet. We have a Hey, Vav, Zayin. We don't have. But we do have a Chet. So I'll do a Chet here. The Chet is seen right here. And it's seen partially right here. And was there another Chet? I think there might have been another one, but for sure we can see these. And notice, it's like this. There's our Chet. Tet, we don't have. Yod, though, we do have. The Yod, we have a few of them. We have a Yod right here. We have, see if your eye can find a Yod. We had two in a row right here for Chaim, the word for life. Chaim has two Yods. So we can see that's like this. So let's write the Yod here. Yod, what's next? Kaf. We'll do one more on this line here. We have a Kaf. Now remember, there's no Sophite letters at this point in Hebrew. Our Kaf is found, I know we have at least two of them. We have one here and one here, and it kind of looks like this. Almost like a fancy letter Y in English. All right, so we have Aleph, Bet, Hey, Vav, Chet, Yod, Kaf. Now I'm going to go up to the next column here. We'll start a new column, Lamed. Well, we've seen our Lameds here, haven't we? Erase those. Do you see that? Do they jump out at you? It's this one right here, and then down here, and here again. And it goes way above that, like notice word here. See, there's the top of the line. The Lamed takes off way above it. Same thing here. Here's the top of the line. The Lamed takes off. So it does a very similar kind of thing. There's our Lamed. Mem, I know we have. Nun. So let's look at those. Remember, again, no Sophite letters back at this time. Well, here's a Mem. Here's a Mem. We've got nice examples of Mem. And here's a nice example of a Nun. There's a Nun here that's kind of buried, but we can see the difference. So a Mem, 1, 2, like that, whereas a Nun is just like that. So let's write those on our list over here. Mem, and then a Nun. No Samic, no Ayin, no Pei that I could find. Lama Mem Nun Samic Ayin Pei Tzadi. I didn't see one. Pei and Tzadi. Kuf, we had a partial Kuf. And that is this one right here from Komata, its height. And it's hard to know exactly what it looked like, but I presume it looks kind of like that. Like a letter P. Kuf. Resh, no Reshes. But Sheen and Tav, definitely. We saw, for example, in the word for 3 here, Sheen, and the word for your wife, there's a Sheen. So it looks just like a W, kind of like that. So our Sheen is like that. And then finally, our Tav, and we see a few of these, don't we? It's this plus, or cross, or X, right here. Where else do you see a tav somewhere else? Over here and here. Mitachat, mitachat, you have a tav before and after. So tav might be one of the most attested letters that we see here. And basically you can see it's an X like that. So now let's just look at what we have here. We have our Aleph, Bet, Hey, Vav, Chet, Yod, Kaf. Again, no final forms. Lamed, Mem, Nun, Kuf, Shin, Tav. So we don't have the full Paleo-Hebrew style that this particular scribe used in this early Hellenistic product. And we saw one variation, at least, from the Masoretic text, which is, just a reminder there, is this word here. Whereas the Masoretic text just has Aleph, Tav, Chet, Itach. Here we have an Aleph added, Aleph, Tav, Chet, Hey. So there's no difference in meaning. There's a difference in perhaps vocalization or some sort of dialectical change. Okay, well, here ends another weekly parashah from the viewpoint of ancient Torah manuscripts, featuring a manuscript that is, maybe 2,300 years old. Very, very old. I hope this has been educational and enjoyable for you. Shalom.